Hello everyone, welcome to Joe and Zach Survival. Today, it's the beginning of October here, and I've got a bunch of apple trees that have a lot of apples on them, and the kids have already had time to eat what they're going to eat and stuff like that, so we're just going to pick some of them and let's dry some little pieces of apple up so we can eat them later on this winter. I've got several apple trees. This one here is a Honey Crisp, and this year it's just loaded with apples, and like I said, the kids have eaten everything that they want to eat. You know, I can eat about an apple a day for, I don't know, a week or two, and I've had enough apples. So I've got this one over here. In the backyard I've got a couple of Cortlands, well, more than a couple. I've got a Zestar, just, you know, and it's nice because they pull in the deer and they're fun to look at, but otherwise right now I have an apple overload. This one here is a Honey Gold. This one doesn't have as many apples on it, never does really, but they're a green apple, and I kind of like them. This one here and the Honey Crisp are both real crisp apple, which I like. The Cortlands aren't quite as good, and but I like to plant a bunch of different kinds because at the time I didn't know what would grow and what wouldn't grow. Well, I guess it's time to start picking up some apples. Well, once we have our apples inside, I do this the simplest way possible, because I'm not into, I don't care if they look real pretty or anything like that. I mean, these are dried apples, so I take my apple core thing here and I'll cut them like that. And now I'll just take the knife here and I just cut them into thinner strips. I mean, I suppose you wouldn't have to, but the dry time would be a lot longer. So I just like to get them thinner, like this. And a lot of people, they will put them in like a vinegar water type deal to keep the color in them so they don't brown as bad. And or that you can buy a wash for it or stuff like that. I don't do that either. It's like, these are going to be dried apples. They're going to look like crap anyway, but they're going to taste the same. Also, when you buy these in the store, usually they still have the skin on them, and that's the reason why I'm drying them, because I hate taking the skin off the apples. Maybe if I had one of those automatic peelers it'd be alright, but since I don't, I mean, I've got all that whole tree's worth of apples out there. I've got my canning jar sitting right here on the counter, and I look at my canner each evening and it's like, nah, not today, because I'd have to peel the apples and go through all that stuff. I'll still get some canned, I just haven't done it yet. But just go through and get a whole bunch of these sliced up like this, and then I'll show you how I'm going to dry them. After you get a bunch of them sliced up, I'm going to sun dry these myself. Like I said before, I don't have a dehydrator, and I could throw them in the oven, and that takes time too, but it's so, I mean, it's, I don't know, what is it, October 5th today, or whatever it is, and it's warm outside. It's like 85 or something, which is our regular high right now is 64. So I'm actually going to use the fact that it's going to be warm for a few days and get a jump start on these. So just string them on here like you're making a popcorn, whatever those things are called. And I'm using a piece of stainless wire here. You can use string, whatever you want. This was handy for me, so I just use this, and then I don't have to put a pin on it because the end is sharp enough to just poke right through. Well, I'll get a bunch of these put on here, and we'll go take and hang them outside. Okay, so you can see I just strung them up out here, and I try to keep a little space between them, and I'll come out here and I'll separate them a little bit now and then. And I was worried, you know, they say you should cover it with screen and stuff like that because of the bugs and the bees. Well, we got a lot of bees out here, and at first they flew around it a little bit, but now they're not really bugging it. And they're saying that this should take roughly 2 days of drying. I'm not sure. You're supposed to bring it in at night also, and that's not how I do it. It's got to be easier. I don't want to do it at all. So I'm just going to leave them out here, and I would think by tomorrow night these are going to be looking pretty good. So yeah, you can throw them in the oven to quicken them up, and like I said, if you had a dehydrator you can do it that way. We're going to want to get these so they're kind of leathery in feel. If you want to dry them farther to make them into like an apple chip, you can do that too. But I kind of want to get them to that leathery stage. They're supposed to stay for a real long time that way. I never know because usually they get eaten too fast, but This time I am going to do some, there's a bee right there. I'm going to do vacuum pack some of them and see how they last that way, because I've never done that before. But anyway, that is a basic way to dry apples, and we'll take a look at them when they're finished. These here, the real thin ones, these have been out here for maybe 6 hours, and like I said, it was warm today. But these are almost ready. So depending, of course, how thick or thin that you cut them up, definitely is a big deal on how long it takes. So anyway, well, the apples are all done. I left them out there for 3 days. I think I could have taken them off yesterday, but I just wanted to make sure, and I just went until they're leathery. If you want to go farther, you could throw them in the oven and make them into, apple chips, but I wanted them just leathery like this. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably let these out and let the kids eat them and stuff like that. And if there's anything left over, I'll package it up. And then I think I've got a ton of apples out there, so I think I'm going to do a bunch more of these. But anyway, that was a very easy, simple, no electricity needed. I didn't use, any power. And the color stayed pretty good on them for not having anything sprayed on them to save the color. So I think that worked really good. So I don't know, there you go. That's how you make simple dried apples. Thanks for watching the Joe and Zach Survival Channel.